It was a big day, and it wasn't going well. It was my turn to see the doctor, and I think that had me all overexcited. I'd taken my meds in the morning, but I still couldn't keep my mind on my work. I had a reading teacher who made me read picture books instead of chapter books because she said the pictures would help me understand the words that were beyond my reading level. But I just wasn't paying attention. Then in math, I couldn't do my drills because inside my head were loud, scary doctor thoughts, and I couldn't seem to hear the teacher. Recess was about the best thing to do because I could just run around the swing set while dodging between the kids who swung back and forth like wrecking balls trying to knock my block off. Finally, at the end of the day, I was sitting in a small examination room with special ed, and he was looking at his watch. There was a cabinet next to me with a lot of neat stuff inside. I opened it and took out the Band-Aids. "Joey," special ed said, "put those back." I was just looking at them. There's no harm in that. "While we are waiting," he said, in his fake doctor voice, "I think we should talk about something important." "Yeah," I said. "Grandma always said not to waste time with the little stuff." "The doctor is going to be concerned with your physical condition and your medication," he said. "That is his job. My job is to be concerned about your behavior, which is why we have to be a team. Long after the doctor gets your medication regulated, you and I will be working together." "I think I've had very good behavior," I said. "I haven't been in trouble for days." "That is good," he said. "But we need to do more than just avoid getting into trouble. We need to focus on how to make the right decision so you aren't in trouble in the first place." "What does that mean?" "The Band-Aids, Joey," he said, pointing to the cabinet. "If I left you here alone for a few minutes, what would you do with them?" "Nothing." "Nothing?" he said, doubting me. "Nothing," I said again. "Then let's test that out," he said, and stood up. "I'll be out in the hall." As soon as the door closed, I began to rip open the Band-Aids right away. I pulled up my t-shirt and started sticking them all over my chest and belly. I must have got about 20 of them on when I heard special ed say, "Good morning, doctor." I quickly hid the wrappers on the windowsill behind the curtain, pulled my shirt down over my belly, and took my seat. The door opened and the doctor rushed in. "I'm Dr. Preston," he said. "Sorry I'm late. My fault." I liked him right away because for once what went wrong wasn't my fault. He set his briefcase on the table and removed his jacket. "Is Mrs. Pigza joining us?" he asked, first looking at me, then at special ed, who'd taken his seat. "She couldn't make it at this time," special ed replied, "but we've spoken. I'll keep her informed." The doctor pursed his lips. "Right," he said dryly, as if he were thinking wrong. As if he were thinking my whole life was wrong and it started with my mom because she didn't care enough about me to make it here. "Well," he said, smiling again, "here's what we're going to do." He snapped open his briefcase and removed his file. "First, I'm going to have to give you a quick checkup. Then we're going to run some tests. Not awful tests, but we have to draw blood and you have to pee in a cup." It didn't sound too bad. "I've had to do worse things," I said. "One time I was with Grandma on a bus and she made me pee in a Coke bottle." "I get the picture," Dr. Preston said as he opened my file and looked at what was written as intensely as if he had just cut open my chest and was watching all my organs work. When he looked up, he took a deep breath, then started talking. "You seem like a nice, smart kid. So I'm going to be honest and give you both the easy news and the hard news, Joey. We all feel that the meds you're taking now aren't doing the job, and with better medication, your attention disorder can be controlled. That part we can manage. But the hard part for us is in determining just the right medication. The written tests and the question and answer test help us chart your behavior. You know, can't sit still, have trouble concentrating, stray from your tasks and all. I wouldn't tell you this so bluntly unless you didn't know it already, and I know you and Mr. Vanis have talked about this." I wanted to tell him that I had talked with every teacher I'd ever known about just the same stuff. But special ed had told me earlier to let the doctor talk, and my job was to listen. So I chewed on the inside of my left cheek because I had chewed up the inside of my right one the day before and it still hurt. What I'm getting at is this. What we don't know is what, medically speaking, is going on inside of you, and that we need to know before we can get you the proper medication. So here's what we're going to do. I want you to go to the Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh and get a test. It sounds scarier than it is. It's called a brain SPECT test. They take pictures of your brain, kind of like x-rays, only a lot more detailed and in color. The test does not hurt one bit. "Is there something wrong with my brain?" I asked. "Because I've seen a lot of people around here with sick brains and they don't look right or act right." Special ed jumped in. "The doctor is saying he just wants to get the test so he can make sure nothing else is wrong before he gives you the right kind of medicine and the right amount." "Exactly," said Dr. Preston. Can my mom come? Absolutely, the doctor said. In fact, she has to. I don't think she can get off work, I said, and looked at Special Ed. She works a lot. We'll see to it, Special Ed said. Don't worry. Joey, the doctor said, as he pulled a stethoscope out of his pocket, I want to listen to your heart. Sit up here. And he patted the edge of the examination table that was covered with a sheet of paper. I glanced over at Special Ed and was going to tell him about the Band-Aids, but he just looked at me as if he was so proud of me, like he was a really good dad, so I hopped up on the table and took a seat. When Dr. Preston lifted my shirt, his face got really worried, and he lowered my shirt again. Mr. Vanis, he said seriously, may I speak with you out in the hall? As soon as they were gone, I began to peel off the Band-Aids, but I only had a few off before Special Ed shot back into the room. Joey, he said, in a very strict voice, the doctor was right behind him, explain to the doctor what you did. I looked at him. I decorated my belly with Band-Aids, I said. What's the big deal? The doctor thought you had been abused, Special Ed said in the same tight voice. That's the big deal. No way, I said. Nobody's beat me up since Grandma did it with a fly swatter. The doctor continued his exam, then turned to Special Ed. I'm finished for now. Have the nurse fill in his chart, he said, and run the blood and urine tests. Then he stepped over to the desk and closed his briefcase. I'm sorry to be in such a hurry, Joey, but until I get all those test results, I can't make a decision in regard to medication, and there are a lot of ways to go. I stood up and he shook my hand, and I looked right into his eyes because Mom told me that if you look into a person's eyes, you can tell if they are lying or not. Am I okay? I asked. His eyes stayed right on mine. They didn't slide left or right or blink and roll back or do something else, like look at the door or his watch. My feeling is that you will be okay. You do have a medical problem. You also have some behavior problems. I think both of those problems can be managed. I think your brain is fine. You have slugged it out for a long while, and now you've hit the wall. You couldn't have done that if something was seriously wrong. We're doing the test just to be on the safe side. I'm only asking because it's my brain, and I need to know, and I'll see my mom, and she'll want to know too. Special Ed stood up and nodded to the doctor. I'll take care of this end of things, he said, and keep you posted. Bye, Joey, the doctor said. I'll see you as soon as we get the results from the tests. Then he opened the door, and I could hear him marching down the hallway. I just waved at where he had been as if suddenly I was only 2 years old and didn't know hello and goodbye and would wave no matter if I was coming or going. And I wanted to keep looking at the door because I figured as soon as I turned around, Special Ed was going to get on me about the Band-Aids. But he didn't even ask about them. Instead, he put his hand on my shoulder. How are you holding up? He asked. I was trying to be hopeful, to look on the bright side, as Mom said. But thinking that there was something wrong with my brain was scaring me. I had already seen so many kids with bad brains, and the worst part is that some of them looked just like me, looked normal. But like me, there was something wrong inside. I'm not doing so good, I said. I was going to say that I was scared, but I had said that so many times already that I thought it was dumb to keep saying the same thing over and over as if my brain wasn't working right. Do you want to call your mom? He asked and picked up the phone. He had already dialed the number by the time I said yes.